Real quickly before we begin, I want to thank this video's sponsor, CarMarshal.com. CarMarshal.com can save you lots of money on buying used or new vehicles, cars, trucks, school buses. If you want to save money, I'll have a link in the description down below. I know I'm going to...
The U.S. Appeals Court has ruled that the NSA's massive collection of phone records is illegal. The ruling determines that it exceeds the scope of what Congress authorized. I want to bring in our senior White House correspondent, Jim Acosta, to help explain this for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Carol. That's right. This is the program that essentially allows the NSA to sweep up all of this data from people's phone calls, not the content of those phone calls, but when calls are made, who those calls are made to. The NSA has been collecting this data for years, and the program was exposed by the NSA leaker Edward Snowden. Well, a court of appeals up in New York looked at this program and found it to be illegal, that it exceeds the scope of the Patriot Act. And there's a pretty damning section of this ruling from the Court of Appeals up in New York saying that it exceeds the scope of what Congress has authorized. Now, this court ruling did not say whether or not the program was constitutional, but it did basically find it to be illegal. Carol, we should point out, though, that not only does the White House sort of agree with all of this, but members of Congress agree with this, and they're trying to reform the NSA's collection of this bulk metadata, as it's called. There's a bill proceeding up on Capitol Hill at this point that the White House would like to see signed into law. So all of this is moving forward, it appears, on a legislative front, but the court has weighed in, and for all of those folks out there who are upset with Edward Snowden and all of his exposures of what's happening at the NSA, this is one particular program that he exposed that a federal court found to be illegal.
Hypocrisy defined. The same government that spies on its citizens is lecturing Facebook CEO for same thing. While Congress lectures Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg on the importance of respecting user privacy, they ignore the fact that they are responsible for allowing illegal spying on millions of American citizens. By Rachel Blevins, April 11, 2018. Members of the same government that is responsible for violating privacy laws and illegally collecting data from its citizens, openly lectured the CEO of a company for violating privacy laws and illegally collecting data from its users, a case of irony that could only play out in a country that brags about the unprecedented freedom enjoyed by its citizens. The special congressional hearing on Facebook's use of user data lasted for 5 hours on Tuesday, and the word privacy was mentioned nearly 100 times. While there were a number of questions as to whether Senators Dianne Feinstein and Chuck Grassley, who are both 84 years old, fully grasped the concept of Facebook and its business model, the concerns about how the social media giant is treating its users was overwhelming. Consumers ought to have clearer information, not opaque policies and complex click-through consent pages. The tech industry has an obligation to respond to widespread and growing concerns over data privacy and security and to restore the public's trust, Grassley said. The status quo no longer works. Moreover, Congress must determine if and how we need to strengthen privacy standards to ensure transparency and understanding for the billions of consumers who utilize these products. Senator Bill Nelson, 75, insisted that if Facebook does not ensure privacy for its users, then Americans' personal privacy will be jeopardized, requiring the government to interfere. If you and other social media companies do not get your act in order, none of us are going to have any privacy anymore. That's what we're facing, Nelson said. We're talking about personally identifiable information that, if not kept by the social media companies from theft, a value that we have in America, being our personal privacy, we won't have it anymore. However, there was one significant fallacy that is either not understood or is simply being ignored by the members of Congress who addressed Zuckerberg. When individuals create Facebook accounts, they know that the photos they share are not their own anymore. They know that every time they react to a status or share their thoughts on a product or service, it will be used to create targeted advertisements that will appear in their news feeds. Americans have the ability to decide whether they give Facebook access to their data, or whether they have a Facebook account at all. But they do not have the ability to decide whether their data is stolen and used by the U.S. government. While Facebook makes it clear that it is using your reactions to content to create targeted ads for your news feed and that it is using the photos you post of yourself to create a facial recognition profile that automatically tags your face in other photos, the government has attempted to be discreet about its data collection. The National Security Agency initially claimed that it was only collecting data from foreign targets that it believed were suspected terrorists. That excuse lasted up until former NSA contractor Edward Snowden released a trove of classified documents in 2013 that showed the government was collecting data from and spying on innocent Americans. Even after a court ruled that the NSA's data collection and domestic spying practices were illegal in 2015, no one has been held accountable for violating the privacy of countless Americans, and the practices have only continued. When Congress announced its first attempt to reauthorize Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, in late 2017, it received massive scrutiny from privacy advocates who warned that the bill would provide additional loopholes for the government to continue conducting warrantless surveillance of innocent Americans, and it would ultimately be worse for civil liberties than the previous legislation. Then when President Trump signed the FISA Reauthorization Act into law in January, he claimed that it was not the same FISA law that was so wrongly abused during the election, and that he would always do the right thing for our country and put the safety of the American people first. However, reports noted that the government is actually following a pattern of legalizing practices that they have already been carrying out, which has been ongoing for years. With the first new law in place, the FBI no longer has to apply for a warrant when national security is involved, or when it determines that there is a threat to life or serious bodily harm, according to a report from The Intercept. The agency will also continue to have unlimited access to data collected by the NSA, even when it does not pertain to a criminal investigation. Edward Snowden. Heavy checkmark. At Snowden. 3. The FBI performs those searches without a warrant. 4. The FBI does it so frequently they say the number is impossible to track. 5. The expanded surveillance powers Trump and Ryan are seeking protect the privacy of criminals under investigation, but not innocent Americans. Hashtag FISA https://twitter.com/mikaeoyang/status/9514821054936309778. 12:04 p.m., January 11, 2018. 1250. 917 people are talking about this. Twitter adds info and privacy. While users are aware of the fact that Facebook has access to their data, it is also true that the social media platform has followed in the footsteps of the US government by giving itself unlimited power, and then abusing that power for financial gain. As Snowden noted, Facebook has turned into a surveillance company that has successfully branded itself as social media, even though it makes money by exploiting and selling intimate details about the private lives of millions, far beyond the scant details you voluntarily post. At the end of the day, neither Facebook officials nor US government officials have any business criticizing each other when it comes to willingly abusing the privacy of Americans' data. Edward Snowden. Heavy checkmark. At Snowden. Businesses that make money by collecting and selling detailed records of private lives were once plainly described as surveillance companies. Their rebranding as social media is the most successful deception since the Department of War became the Department of Defense. 7:12 p.m., March 17, 2018. 76.1K. 40.4K people are talking about this.
We didn't take a broad enough view of our responsibility, and that was a big mistake. And it was my mistake, and I'm sorry. I started Facebook, I run it, and I'm responsible for what happens here.
This should be a wake-up call for the tech community. We want to hear more, without delay, about what Facebook and other companies plan to do to take greater responsibility for what happens on their platforms. You have an obligation, and it's up to you, to ensure that that dream doesn't become a privacy nightmare for the scores of people who use Facebook.
I'm concerned but appears not to have taken significant steps to address it until this year.
While the contours of the Cambridge Analytica situation are still coming to light, there was clearly a breach of consumer trust and a likely improper transfer of data.
If Facebook and other online companies will not or cannot fix the privacy invasions, then we are going to have to, we, the Congress.
On all of the good that connecting people can do. And as Facebook has grown, people everywhere have gotten a power heard and for building communities and businesses. But it's clear now that we didn't do enough to prevent these and hate speech, as well as developers and data privacy. I believe deeply in what we're doing, and I know that when we address these challenges, we'll look back and view helping people connect and giving more people a voice as a positive force in the world.
Go to the privacy tab. If you don't want to share something, don't share it. This is a free service. Go on there and say, I don't want to allow and what you're signing up for. It's a free app. Now you need to do more.
Does Facebook use audio?
Well, Senator, let me be clear on this. I mean, so you're talking about and use that for ads.
Right.
We don't do that.
Here's what everybody's been trying to tell you today, and I say this gently. Your user agreement sucks.
Hey, Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and I just wanted you to know that I am using this stuff under fair use. And also remember to like and subscribe this channel. Also, too, keep in mind I do not make any money on YouTube. This is 5 hours work a day, you know, fighting for freedom. And you can donate with PayPal and Patreon. I just want you to think about this. If everybody gives to PayPal and Patreon, Patreon is every month. Actually, PayPal you can do every month. I have 12,000 subscribers. If everybody gives, I can quit my regular job and go full-time investigations on Charlotte County and possibly even more and beyond. So just keep that in mind. If everybody helps out, I can go full-time doing this. Thanks.